I'm showing you where Castor's at with his feet, so we're getting to the point where I can hold them up for longer amounts of time. So a couple seconds, click while the foot's up, and then give him a treat. I like where his head placement is too. That's very nice. That's what's going to happen if you're consistent with giving the treat in the same place. Like you're always consistent with your treat giving. They'll just get ready in that position and they'll stay there, and that's what you want. And the same thing is true if you always feed them close to you or with their head bent towards you, they're going to start anticipating that and doing that, and that's something you don't want. So hold it up, 1, 2, 3, click, put it down, and the quality is not great. Obviously, I'm in the shade; it's very hot, but um, the video is good, the behavior is good. I wanted to show where he was at with this, and he's very consistent. Like he'll keep doing it over and over again. That time I picked up two hands, just a little bit different, and he didn't show any different change at all. Like he still was relaxed, so he was cool with that. Give him a little jackpot there. Very good. I like that. He's doing the same thing with his other foot, but I don't want to keep going over the feet too much. I'll show you guys something else once he's a little bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and clip some little short reins onto his halter. So he just has a leather halter on. I'm going to clip some reins onto it. And I want to do some in-hand work. So since I've been sitting on him, I've been getting him used to the drive lines, and now I want to get him steering. So he also already knows lateral flexion really well. He's very soft. So the steering is what we got to do next, so we can kind of all add it all together and do some ground driving and then do some riding. So that is my goal slash plan. So that's what we're doing here. And this one is a little bit messy. This is his first time. Like, he's never done this before. He doesn't understand what it is that I want. So I'm just asking him to move around here a little bit with those reins over his neck, and he's cool with that. Ask him to change directions. Like with Atlas, he's a little bit more in tune with like every little change. Castor, not as much, but I wanted to make sure he could walk around with those reins over his neck and it wasn't a big deal. Which again is not something you think about with a domestic horse, but with them, I make sure every little change is okay with them. So that looked great. So I'm gonna grab my target and then I'm gonna see if I can get him to follow the target um, while also responding to the lead rope. So he already knows the target, he knows how to follow it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on the lead rope, or my reins, I guess, and then have him see that target. When he goes to follow that target with his nose, I will let go, and then at the same time I will click, and then I will feed. So probably I tried to go ahead and go right into walking and like steering and stuff, and he was very confused. He was like, I don't understand like what it is that I wanted. So I'm trying to show him with the target here that I just want him to go forward and not lunge. Like he just doesn't understand. But I kept this in so you could see what the beginning looked like with him, and then later on you can see what the ending looks like with him, and it's much better. So it's much different. And so this is a process. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't look great in the beginning. Like that's totally normal. You're training an animal. So he's got to figure out what it is you want. And even like little position changes like this, like he knows how to lunge, he knows how to lead. But now I'm by his shoulder and he's like, what is this? So I'm just going to try to stand by his shoulder first and reward him for letting me stand there. And I should have started by doing that originally and not asking him to walk. And then just having him, like here, just flex his head from side to side with the target. Like, let's just have you following, maybe going backward, going forward a step. I shouldn't have gone right to, okay, let's do a handwork, let's start going forward and steering, because that was too much for him. But again, yeah, that's how I learned it. So just by trying it, and it didn't work out well for him. So even for Castor, like I say in a lot of his videos, like he generalizes pretty well, and I can skip some steps, but not all the time. So, and it's not a big deal. You just go back, break it down for him, and they'll figure it out. So now we're just going to do a little bit of flexing. So again, stand still. I'm just going to pick up on that left rein. I am going to show him the target. When he goes to touch the target, I'm going to let go and click at the same time and then feed him. So that's what I want for right now. And let's see. He's thinking maybe, okay, so I think I asked him to back up. Yeah, okay, so I'm still working on the lunging, and he just thought he was supposed to back up there. That's a little shady, so I thought I might be pulling on both reins. So I want him to let me stand by his shoulder and then walk next to me while I'm or have him let me walk next to him at the shoulder. That's just a different positioning for him, so he's just not quite sure. But we're gonna do a little bit more flexion here. Try and do it on this side too. You can probably see a little bit better here. So pick up, show him the target. He goes to get it. I'm gonna click and then feed. Yeah, that's a lot better. You can see much better from this angle. So he's got that down. We've worked on that. We just haven't done it with the reins before. So let him hang out for a second and chew on that. So again, when you're doing in-hand stuff, you can get really stuck on going forward and steering and turning and doing all this. You also need to teach a stand. They need to stand still. They need to be patient. They need to wait for you. That's super important. That was another thing that I missed in the beginning. So, but another good flexion here. He's pretty good at that. And then ideally, I should ask him to back up and then work on forward. But you know, this is my Mustang experiment, so this is their whole process to where I got to where they are now. But it was a process because I was learning and they were learning, and you know, it makes it harder. So again, I'm going to pick up, show him my target, he turns, click, and then feed him. So he's got that down pretty good. And then this works because he's working on his steering, and then I can stand next to him and he's not thinking he needs to move around. He's cool with me being at his shoulder, so. So he's a nice little backup. So I'm gonna ask him to move his. He thinks he might want to walk. I'm just trying to ask him to flex over. I should have used my target a little sooner because I thought he was farther along, so like that he was gonna respond right to the rope pressure, and he didn't. But I should have brought my target up sooner than I did. So I'm picking up, and then he right away went to the target. But I picked my target up a lot sooner too, so that's important. So I'm picking up, hold my target, then click as he was on his way to the target. That was much better. And he's thinking like he needs to walk around or something, so I have that too. Because I started to do that in the beginning and just try to do that. So again, nice. And he's responding well to that. And he's moving his feet. He's just kind of confused, which is not bad because when he's steering and when I'm riding him and doing hand stuff, I do want him to move his feet. So I don't do a ton of lateral flexion, but just for this, like it's important that he knows to respond to it. And he's gonna be a little confused because I was trying to like drive him forward with the target, which he should not do. And obviously he has good reason to be confused. So I'm just gonna try and walk next to him and just because he's just kind of all over the place, like he's not in the right spot. That's all right. I'm gonna try and get him in the right spot here. So again, I should use the target as a target and not as a crop. But I get stuck in my negative reinforcement ways because I was trying to lunge him forward and have him go forward because he was just confused. But I do want him to know to go forward from what would be your leg cue, so that if I just press with my hand on his side, I do want him to do that. But I shouldn't use the target to do that because he's just going to be confused. So there, he's going forward, he's letting me kind of be next to him, but then he wants to kind of like swing out and like lunge. He just doesn't understand. There we go. There, I should click that because this is much better. There we go. Yeah, that's better. He's starting to get it. So yeah, this process does not look good. It looks bad, but I'm showing you how I shaped it and fixed it, and now it looks a lot better. So bear with me because it will look like it's supposed to here shortly. But I mean, a lot of people are just like, he's just confused. Like, should I back up? A lot of people are afraid to start because they don't want to make a bunch of mistakes and like mess their horse up. Like, I made so many mistakes with all of my horses and then I fixed it. Is it harder to fix it? Absolutely. Should you just not start at all because you're afraid to make mistakes? No, that's ridiculous. Everybody makes mistakes, even people who are, you know, in Olympics and doing all kinds of stuff. So you try to get as much knowledge as you can and then go ahead and play with it. you know, as long as you're not putting tons of pressure on your horse, like, and you have a good relationship and you maintain that, it's gonna be okay. This looks much better. Much, much better. Because I wanted to do like too much steering right away, and I should work on that position first, which I'm doing now. Um, but it really threw him off for me to be on his shoulder. So even though he generalizes well to a lot of things, like you saw him with the drive lines and the lunge whip and those kind of things, like with this, he really struggled. And it's just because he hadn't done it before. He's like, I'm always supposed to be like in front of him or like by his head, and by his shoulders are supposed to be. That's much better. There, that's a lot better position. I really, really would like him even further forward, but we're getting closer to where I want. He's not bowing out as much. So what I would have should have done is had that target out further ahead. So if I'm continuing going on that right hand circle, target in my right hand further out in front of him, and then would draw him out further ahead of me on the circle, and then I could have walked toward the shoulder. So I'm asking him to go forward here. He doesn't understand. I'm putting too many changes together. I'm trying to ask him to go forward with like my target, which is stupid. And then I'm trying to ask him to go forward for pressure, which he hasn't done. And yeah, he's just confused. And I'm trying to walk by his shoulder. He doesn't get it. It's okay. So he's like, what is happening? That's why he's like resisting here. And then it's important to be like, okay, he just doesn't understand. Like, because that's what's happening here. He's not being bad. He's not being disrespectful. He just doesn't understand. That's all. There we go. I can go forward. See, if I would have drawn him forward with that target, I could have been at his shoulder, and then it would have been a lot easier. There, now he's following that target. So that's a better position, so I'm going to reward him for that. Good. There we go. Yep, now I have my target in the right spot. He's still a little sticky, but this is better. I just want him going forward next to me. Yeah, as soon as I get the reins, he's like, what am I doing? What are you supposed to do? Much better. Now it's somewhat looking more like in-hand stuff. There we go. I'm not sure why I felt like I needed to hold both reins right away either, but I think I'm just too stuck on like working with the domestic horses. Now I just work on that inside rein, and then I'll pick up both later on. But I think that was what I was trying to get into like regular position right away.